Hello everyone, Glenda Mollet here, and I'm in my craft room stamping with you today. I am doing a sand and sea card that we did for our May 2021 club cards. Now I'm just trying a new setting on my phone, so I want to stamping with you today. I want to see if I can get it a little bit less glary. So we'll give this a whirl. Okay, I don't quite understand. Okay, there we are. Okay, so we're going to use the Friends Are Like Seashells bundle today for this card. That consists of the Friends Are Like Seashells stamp set, the Seaside Shells dies, and the Seashells embossing folder. I'm going to be using a Blushing Bride card base that is 8.5 by 5.5, and then a piece that's 2 by 3 for the sentiment. Some basic white underneath. You can just see it there through the vellum. So let me just put this off to the side and I'll get my pieces out. So there's a 5 1/4 by 4 inch piece for the inside. And I'll show you the inside. And then we have 5 1/4 by 4 goes on the front. And then a piece of just the Sand and Sea designer paper that is 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. And then a piece of vellum that's 5 1/2 by 4 1/4, and we're going to emboss that and put it over the top. Apparently I've already die cut this out. Let's see if my other kit has it cut out as well, or if I will cut it out. No, it's cut out too. Okay, doesn't matter. You all know how to die cut. So this is cut out of the pearlescent paper, and then we're going to emboss it and sponge some color on it. There's just a couple of spots here that need to have the pieces removed, the little extra things. There we go. I love this pearlescent paper, and unfortunately it is retiring. So we have that, and that's once we've done our thing to it, it's going to lay over the top like that. And then this is cut out of the Pierced Blooms dies. I love this sentiment die. It's really pretty. And we're just going to put it over top and finish off with some pearls, some opal rounds. Okay, I have this piece. I don't know where it's from. I don't. That's this one that sits up here. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I'm going to have to check that because that means one of the kits I created has a broken piece in it. Anyways, we'll carry on. So let's get started. And I've already die cut this with the big die, which matches perfectly with the Seashells embossing folder. So once you've cut it out, just take it and pop it into the embossing folder, and then take a little bit of time to move it around until it pops down into the holes on the embossing folder, and close that up. There we are. And I'll run this through my machine. This card is really quite easy. This card is really quite easy to do because the embossing folder and the dies do all the work. Okay, that's embossed. Now you remember how it was dull and dead and lifeless before we embossed it? Look at this. Just look at the detail on that embossing folder. It even puts detail on some of the leaves. It's so pretty. Okay, so now let me get a piece of scrap paper here because I forgot to get a new one, because we're going to do some sponging. Well, actually daubers. So I just lightly went over top of the different shells in different colors. This is Highland Heather and then Blushing Bride. These two are Crumb Cake, and this one in the back there is Seaside Spray. So use whatever colors you want. Seaside Spray, of course, is retiring as well. So I'm just going to load up my dauber and just lightly go over top of the image. You don't want to push because you don't want it going down in between the embossing. You just want it catching on the top like that. There you go. It's just that easy. Okay, and then we'll go with Highland Heather next, and we're going to do this big one here. Load up my dauber and just go over the top, lightly rubbing. There's that one. And next I'll get out my Crumb Cake and another dauber, and I'll do the two little ones. Just back and forth over top of them, just so that the color catches on the raised parts. And you can make these as light and as dark as you want. There we are. Now we have Blushing Bride to go on the big one. And another dauber. You can use sponges if you want. The blending brushes are a bit on the big side. It would work for the big one, but I don't know whether it would work. Maybe I'll use the side of them. But daubers work really well. And I'm just going back and forth over top of the embossed areas. Like this. To get some color on there. There we go. So now the only thing left to do is put a little bit of soft sea foam on where the seaweed is. So exactly the same way. Take your dauber, ink it up, and just go back and forth. Just be careful that you don't push too hard, and kind of go in the direction that the seaweed is going. There we go. And there's a little bit here. And I'm not worried about there because that's going to be hidden with the sentiment. I love this paper. It's so pretty. Just about done here. And we haven't done any stamping yet, and just look at how pretty the front of our card is going to be. And a little bit right there. There we are. That did not take too long. Get rid of the dirty paper. Okay, now I'm going to emboss the vellum with the embossing folder as well. And I'm just going to center it. Now this is the full size of the card front. Full 5.5 by 4.25. Okay, I'll put that through the machine. we are. And just look how beautiful that is. I love the effect on the vellum. It's quite stunning. Okay, so now we can do some assembly. Get some adhesive on the back of the designer paper. Now you can use either side. This side I used on this one, so maybe I'll just flip it over, but you can do a trial. Take that and put this over top and just see what it looks like before you commit to one side or the other. You don't see a lot of it anyways. Oh, I do like that. Okay, so let's use the other side for this one. And just putting my Stamp and Seal around the outside, and I'll layer it onto the white. Like that. And if you don't get it straight, it's a bit forgiving because we're covering it up with vellum. I've done a lot of cards with this bundle and I love every single one of them. Now that just goes flat onto your card base. Now the vellum goes on. So I'm going to use Tombow, and it's going to be underneath where the embossed images are going to end up. So it doesn't matter. Come on, stop, don't stop working. It doesn't matter whether you can see the Tombow or not, or whatever adhesive you decide to use, because it's going to be covered up. And we'll just put a little bit here along that, and a little bit there, just to get the corners a little bit, and up here. There we are. Now I'm going to sit that aside to dry while I stamp the sentiment on the inside. Apparently I didn't get the stamps out. Uh-oh. Need that one, and I need that one. And the blocks. There we are. Now I'm going to use this one. I used Seaside or soft suede on them, and I forgot to list that in the colors for the recipe, so my apologies. You can use any color you want, and I'll just stamp that right there on that die cut piece. Oh, apparently I didn't. I used crumb cake on there. Oh well, you know, that's the way things go. All right, so that's done. Now inside an envelope, let's get out the Blushing Bride and do a couple of seashells inside and outside. I don't want to get ink on my grid paper. There we go. And on the inside. I left a message for somebody and I knew they were going to phone when I started videoing. Okay, there we go. So we can put this inside. Now, if you've got designer paper left over, you can always add some to the inside of your card. Okay, there's my card base, and this will go in here like this. Oh, put my envelope down over top of my vellum. Now this will go right over top of the entire card front. Just like that. There we go. Oh, it's so pretty. Okay, now we need to put adhesive on the back of this as well. And I'm using Tombow, but you can use whatever adhesive you like. This just allows me to move if I don't get it in exactly the right spot, because I want to make sure it goes right over top of the embossing. Now, I had thought about using adhesive sheet on this, but because you're going to be embossing it, I didn't know how well that would work. So I didn't do it. I should have just tried it. It would have been fun to know. Okay, just put a little bit on the grass here. Finish off here and here. You want to make sure that it doesn't get caught on anything and rip off. There we are. Now, you can wait and let this dry a bit if you want, but I'm not going to. I'm going to line it up. And just put it on there. I'll just hold it for a second or two till the Tombow bonds. There we are. I will take the sentiment. And we'll put that on over top. And these products are so pretty that you don't need a lot of embellishments on them. And I'm going to put this in line with the designer paper on this side, just like that. And then add 3 opal rounds. I got glue on my finger. Just to add a little bit of bling to your card. No wink of Stella required because of how pretty it is. Okay, so there's our card. This one uses one side of the designer paper and this one uses the other side of the designer paper. Isn't that pretty? So classy and beautiful and blingy without a lot of work. I hope you enjoyed my series on the Sand and Sea suite. The bundle is carrying forward into the new catalog the designer paper and stuff. The designer paper is not. But I'm so happy that we'll be able to create again with it. Now this one I used soft suede on it and I don't like it as much as that one. So I think I'm going to redo this and make it, because it's this one, that is the focal point, and this one, this is the focal point. So I'm going to redo it and stamp it in crumb cake instead. It was an experiment. Some work and some don't. So thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so happy I finally figured out the settings on my camera. It seems to have worked really well. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Stampin' Smiles and bye for now.